Ow! Dang it! Oh no. Come on in. Because now it's time to learn, to cook, to taste. Hello and welcome to Taste, the podcast where every episode dives deep into a different food. I'm your host, Cody Reiss, and today we're talking about congee with special guest Calvin Ang, the owner and chef of Bonnie's in Brooklyn. I've known Calvin for 6 or 7 years now. He's an amazing chef, and him and his wife Phoebe just released an awesome cookbook called Salt Sugar MSG, which you should also definitely grab. Me and Calvin talk about rice, liquid, MSG, and so much more. And if you've never had congee, you're missing out. It is such a comforting, nourishing, easy to make, but really, really satisfying rice porridge, and you're about to learn all about it. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Calvin. Why did you choose congee?
I chose congee because I personally love it. Like, I grew up eating it. It's such like a homey comfort food. It's like one of those things that is perfect for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. It's such like a blank canvas. So you could kind of like flavor it or add so many different accoutrements, like add whatever you want to kind of make it how you want to eat it. And with different proteins, you can make it vegan, vegetarian. It's like one of those things that you can accommodate so many different dietary restrictions or for like this moment in your life or whoever you're cooking for, which is why even like at the restaurant it's like important for us to have it, not only because it's such a large part of Cantonese cuisine and culture, but also because you can mod it to kind of accommodate everyone. So we will always have a dish for someone, unless you're allergic to rice or something, then that's, which I haven't heard of yet.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm sure it exists.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere. So you said you ate it growing up. Was it like, do you remember when it like you first had it, or was it always kind of there?
I don't remember the first time I had it, but I definitely had it as a baby because it's one of those things. It's like giving your kid like pureed vegetables. You know, it's like the same consistency. It's a little thicker, watery, soupy rice porridge situation. It's like perfect for babies with no teeth. You could just swallow it without having to chew.
Perfect for me too, for that reason.
And it's relatively like nutritious. Like rice has nutrients. If you cook it with broth, it's a good way to get nutrients in kids that way. So I'm sure I had it at a very, very young age. I mean, probably as a kid, just like with my mom or my grandmother. They always had it after Thanksgiving as well, because we'd roast a turkey and have this massive carcass. And that's like another way to add like a lot of flavor, nutrients, and not waste the carcass. So I remember they would like take the carcass, salt it, and kind of cure it overnight and leave it in the fridge. And the next day we would use that and chuck it in the pot. So it'd be like, and a turkey carcass is massive, and you have so many nooks and crannies, so much extra flesh and meat that's like on there that just simmers away and just falls off the bone, becomes this super luscious, tender turkey congee the next day.
Yeah, wow. That is like, I feel like everyone's always talking about Thanksgiving leftovers, but I've never heard anyone talking about throwing it into black congee. It's a great idea. I love that.
No, it's a good move.
Yeah, that's a good move. Okay, can you describe your ideal bowl of congee?
Yeah, an ideal bowl to me is, sometimes I think less is more. I really like accoutrements on the congee. So I think my favorite type that I prefer is just like a plain one made with jasmine rice, so very floral. My ratio is always 1 to 10. So 1 cup of rice to 10 cups of liquid. And I personally don't prefer using broth or anything because I like a clean white looking one. I don't want like a dark, muddy, soupy looking congee. That's not really my style. I prefer white and clean, seasoned with very simply just like salt and MSG. And then like the accoutrements is like what makes it, in my opinion. So like super, super fine, like julienne ginger, sliced scallion, some chopped cilantro. A lot of times when you get it at the restaurants, it'll have like peanuts in there, like whole peanuts. So I'd like to kind of mix roasted peanuts with fried shallots or fried garlic kind of thing, like a little sprinkle of it for crunch. Pork floss is another big one that I always had growing up at home for my congee specifically. And then I think like Cantonese food, white pepper is like a very, very prominent flavor. Like I used to hate white pepper growing up. It tasted kind of horsey. Smelled like a farm. smelled like a farm to me. But then now it's like I love it, and I can't have it without like a fresh crank of like toasted white pepper on top.
Wow.
And then served with like a fried cruller. Like in Cantonese we call it a yao jia guai or yao tiu, which is literally just like flour, leavening agent, water, rested and stretched out, deep fried. So it's like a fried dough stick, fried bread stick essentially that we use for dunking. So that's like my perfect bowl. And sometimes if I want more protein, I'll like throw a soy egg in there, throw a jammy egg in there, but not necessary. just because that's just another thing to make.
What about the texture? Can you pull out the texture a little bit?
Yeah, you see, I wouldn't say it's homogeneous because it's not like a blended creamy soup, let's say, because like at the end of the day, it's still grains that are broken down. It is creamy, it is silky, but there's still texture. All the grains are broken down. There's not whole grains anymore. That's what I was saying earlier. Like the ratio of 1 to 10 is like my perfect ratio of like the consistency of it. I don't want it too loose. I don't want it too thick. Like a creamy chowder, like a New England creamy chowder. That kind of consistency, I think, is like my favorite. Like, I don't like it too thick. I don't like it too loose. I think it's nauseating if it leans too much either way.
Okay, that's amazing. So can you run me through just like the most basic ingredients to congee?
Yeah, rice and water. And that's it. You got congee.
Okay, amazing. So rice, a moment ago you said that your ideal rice is jasmine. Is that right?
Yeah, I prefer jasmine. I think most Cantonese people do prefer jasmine as well. I think it's like medium grain. It's like floral, has like good flavor, good aroma, but still being like pretty neutral.
Is the floral the most important part of it, or is it like, does the medium grain have like a different like starch ratio that's good for the cooking of it, or?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think if shorter grain is definitely more common in Taiwanese and like Japanese, and even like using sticky rice is even like a thing where it's like more higher starch content. But again, all that can be altered by how much liquid you add as well. So I think starting it always with like a 1 to 10 is a good starting point. And then you could always dilute a little bit more as you go kind of thing. Like even for us at the restaurant, like we cook such a large batch at a time and we basically are able to freeze it, but we freeze like a concentrate of it. So we're cooking like a 1 to 5 ratio when we're prepping it, but then on the pickup, we stretch it out. Just so it's like taking up less space storage wise as well.
Right.
So you can do that at home, you can do it wherever. So like the ratio doesn't really matter when you're cooking it so much. It matters when the final product, like what you're looking for, you could add more liquid to kind of thin it out to where you like it. Because like once you take it too far, if it's too thin to whatever, then you kind of just like be waiting for it to reduce a little further and further, and you don't want to do that. So I think less and then thinning it out when you're ready, when it's all cooked.
Right. Okay, cool. So if you're going to tend one way in terms of the ratio of water, less water is better because you can always thin it out versus more, which you'd have to sit around and wait for it to reduce.
Exactly.
Fun. Okay, cool.
So like another tip and trick that I have in the book that I also use at the restaurant that my mom taught me, because obviously congee, if you're making a batch that's relatively large, you're going to be whisking it for a while for it to break down and cook down. So like her trick is to basically wash and then freeze the rice until all the grains basically break down and burst like passively in the freezer, and then it cuts down the cooking time by like over 50%. So it's much, much faster because the goal is to break down the grains, and then when there's water in the grains, it basically gets trapped, and when it freezes, it bursts and breaks down. I mean, when you pull it from the freezer, you'll be able to see it. It's like starting to break down. It looks different. So then when you're cooking it from frozen, a lot of that work is already done by the freezer and the water. It's just literally just heating up your liquid to a boil and then dumping the frozen rice into it and whisking.
Does it just have to become frozen and then it's broken down, or like how long does it stay in the freezer?
Yeah, I usually leave it for at least like 6 hours and you'll be good. But if it's like one of the things that's like soaking beans overnight, you know what I mean? It's like you got to know you're going to do it ahead of time in order for that to be useful. But again, if you don't plan for it, you could still make it. It's just you just have to stand over it and attend to it and whisk it so it doesn't burn or scorch.
Right. Okay, cool. And what about like brown rice?
Yeah, you can use anything.
Yeah.
Use all grains, anything.
Right. So it is like a porridge, right? And so you could sub in like bulgur and it would just be like a different ratio.
Yeah, all those ratios you would just have to play with, because again, you would probably do as little as possible and then thin it out as needed. But me personally, I don't like a lot of other like too much flavor. I like it as neutral as possible for when I have it. But yeah, I feel like every culture, every cuisine has their own version of congee or porridge of some sort.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's just grains and liquid. It's cooked down. It's like a soupy consistency pretty much.
Yeah, it's like a pretty old food, it seems like. It's like I'm thinking of like gruel, like peasants eating.
Yeah,
like,
it's like it's like the poor man's food. It's like humble food, humble cooking in order to like stretch. I mean, like I said, we stretch one bowl of rice. I mean, 1 cup of rice becomes 10 cups of congee.
Right.
And once you start adding protein or adding other things in there, you got 12 cups of congee.
Right.
from 1 cup of rice,
Huh.
which is
What
kind
a-
of crazy.
That is crazy. What about like, can't you or would you ever make congee from fresh rice out of the rice cooker, leftover rice that you got from like takeout or something?
People do, and I've seen it to like avoid waste or like for family meal and stuff like that. But the texture is not the same. It's a little more like tacky and glutinous without like that silky breakdown of the grain when you slowly do it. The texture just isn't the same, but it is a way of doing it. Like it's like adding rice to soup. You know what I mean? It's like it's still
Right.
good. It's just not the same. It's like a totally different dish.
Right. Okay, cool. So the ideal, just in the rice world, the ideal is for you jasmine rice at 1 part rice to 10 part water ratio, if not leaning a little less,
Yeah,
thinning it out. Okay.
that's my move.
And then you talked a little bit about the liquid that you used, and you said you don't like to use stock. You use water.
Yeah, I prefer water just so it's neutral and then I can do whatever I want in terms of like the toppings and how I want to eat it.
What are the other options for liquid if you didn't want a neutral bowl of congee?
Yeah, I mean, you can use, again, any stock, any broth, any liquid you want, veggie broth, any protein broth.
Milk?
It's amazing way to add nutrients. Yeah, so you mentioned milk. So at the restaurant, we have a clam chowder congee that we do like a New England
cool.
style. So we basically have like your base of your mirepoix, you have your butter, and then we have the rice gets toasted in that butter and it gets cooked down with like clam liquor and cream, heavy cream. So like the flavor, the color, the consistency of it is very, very like rich and silky. The flavors of clam chowder, but cooked totally differently.
Wow. So, I think I personally, when I'm cooking, I often tend towards this like idea of like building flavor. And a lot of those flavors are like dark, toasty, like kind of what you're taught in like
Yeah.
French cooking kind of vibe. And then I was thinking about like, do I want to toast the rice? And then when I thought about toasting rice, I thought about rice pilaf, which toasting the rice is kind of a technique to get the grains to stay like separate.
Mm-hmm. Because they're all like coated in fat, essentially.
Right. Yeah. And so then I was thinking about like, oh, well, maybe toasting the rice would inhibit it from breaking down the way you want it to. Is that true? Or like in the clam chowder congee, does it end up?
No,
Like,
I think it honestly, like all the fat and liquid all like emulsifies together and is bound together by like the starch essentially. But yeah, it's funny you say that because I think Western and Eastern cooking is very different. Obviously, there's a lot of browning and searing and like you said, trying to build that flavor that way. When a lot of times if you're doing like a Chinese braise, for example, you're not searing it, you're blanching it. Like you're
right.
tightening the meat, you're skimming the impurities, skimming the proteins that come off, and then you're braising it in whatever liquid that you have. Versus in French cooking, you're probably like hard sear all around, dump your liquid, dump your wine, deglaze, all that stuff, and then let it chill in the oven or the pot kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a very different in that way where like Cantonese cooking is all about like clean, clear, more like simple flavors.
Right. Yeah. No, totally. I think that was like I was thinking about that when I was making this most recent bowl of congee, and I guess I was like maybe I'm just like stuck too much in like French cooking, or maybe it's not very even fair to call it French cooking, but I was like I feel like I need to like add some flavor at the beginning of this was basically the thought in my mind, and so when I started the congee, I got a little bit of oil heated in a saucepan, and then I added ginger, shallot, and garlic. And I like aromatized it, and I was like, I'm thinking back, I'm just making my, whatever. But like, and then, as I was like softening it, I was like, don't brown it. Like, don't, like,
Yeah, you don't want that
like,
color.
Yeah, totally. Would you ever, I mean, it sounds like this clam chowder one, you are building a base before you make your congee, but would you ever build flavor with fat before you go in with the rice on like a neutral plain congee? Or is that something you'd add later? And
I mean, you
without-
totally could, but it's not something that wouldn't be like a traditional way of making it. Like when we add the ginger, we like julienne like super, super fine, like thin, like strings basically, just so it kind of like melts away into the congee.
Interesting. So yeah, are you adding yours towards the end of cooking too, or is it just accoutrement on top?
So we don't have it raw. We throw it in at the end and just
okay.
like whisk it all in together.
Cool.
Because like the raw, you don't want to eat it raw, but you want to eat it like hammered or toasted really.
Right.
It's kind of like how if you have like Cantonese steamed fish, they like put the ginger and scallion on top, hit it with the hot oil to
Right.
like gently cook it. So it's not like raw, but it's not like cooked.
Totally.
It's like a small bite, but not raw bite.
So when you're making a plain congee, is there any fat involved before you start like adding toppings?
No, there's nothing in there. It's literally just the rice, the liquid, and the seasoning. And then whatever you want to put on top.
Cool. Okay, so we have rice, liquid, and then seasoning is another one, of which you've mentioned. It seems like salt and MSG are the two seasonings that you're putting into it.
Yeah, that I put, and then a little cracked white pepper on top.
And so when does the salt and MSG come into the process?
So for we make it, we just throw it in at the end when we're ready to serve it, basically.
Cool.
So we're just seasoning on the pickup just to make sure whatever ratio of water we have, it's not like over seasoning or under seasoning. So it's just like on the pickup, adding everything in and tasting it.
Right. Yeah. As opposed to adding salt early on to make it taste good, and then it reduces and then it's way too salty.
Yeah, exactly. But also it depends on like what you're putting on top, right? Because I think at the restaurant we do it one way because we already know what we're putting on top. But if you're having it at home, it's fun to have a neutral one because you could put whatever you want on top. It could be a soy egg. If I'm putting a soy egg, I might put less salt. If I'm putting chili oil on it that day, then again, less salt and MSG probably, or whatever I have laying around.
Okay, so yeah, like let's talk a little bit more about like possible toppings. What's the goal of toppings for you? Is it like texture? Is it pops of flavor? Is it like, how do you think about toppings when it comes to congee?
Definitely all the above. Like I always want like a herbaceous moment, oniony moment. So that's like the cilantro, the sliced scallions, like that will always be on it for me. Like chopped cilantro and sliced scallions are like a non-negotiable for my congees. And then an egg, I pretty much always will have an egg of some sort, like a 8-minute egg, whether it's like a soy egg or a regular egg, if I don't have a soy egg laying around or have time to make one. And then I always have like fried shallots or fried garlic at home. And I think those just pack so much flavor when used here. Adds like such like a sweet nuttiness that you can't really get from a lot of things specifically. And you can easily buy those as well. You don't like having, you can make them, but so not necessary. It's one of the things I always have laying around because I use them in a lot of dishes. Like even when I cook dishes or I make salad dressings, like I throw some in there and blend it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I like the texture of it when it's like crunchy and then it gets a little soggy when it's on top of the congee. So it's like kind of soft, a little chew, it kind of rehydrates a little bit in the congee, and then the flavors definitely like seep out into the congee throughout. So it's like fun for me. And like I was saying earlier, like peanuts are very common. Like if you buy it, you'll probably get chopped their whole peanuts in it. So it's like another fun one I always like to add.
And those are like usually like fried peanuts?
A lot of times I'll have fried peanuts around, but if not, just like roasted peanuts that I'll chop up. A lot of times I'll chop it up with the fried shallots. So it's just like finer bites throughout versus like big chunks of things. And then chili oil, I don't love to put it on top. I kind of like to have it on the side. I don't want every bite to be spicy. I don't want the heat to just take over the whole bowl. So it's like one of those things, maybe I want a spicy bite, maybe I don't. And it's just go back and forth with a little spoon. Basically, I always eat it with the soup spoon, then have a little tiny spoon, like a demitasse for my chili oils. And I just like spoon it onto my big spoon, basically.
Demitasse? Is that the name for a tiny little like serving spoon?
Like the coffee spoons.
That's cute. I've never heard that word before. I love that little demitasse.
So that's how I usually eat it. And then soy sauce, I never use straight soy sauce. Like that's not something I have laying around really for like finishing. That's like usually a seasoned soy sauce or a sweet soy sauce, just so it's not too salty. And again, I don't like pouring that in to every bite just because it'll just turn the whole thing kind of muddy brown. But if you have like a small little bowl, that's fine because then it kind of looks cool, a little swirl. But if you're like mixing a whole bowl, then the whole thing's just like brown.
So you wouldn't really use straight up soy sauce at the end. You would maybe have a little side thing of seasoned soy sauce or sweet soy sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned white pepper. Is that something you have in its own grinder at home?
Yeah, I have a separate grinder for white. I basically just toast everything and I just throw it all in there.
Interesting. Nice. That's cool. I very rarely have white pepper at my house, but I'm feeling like I probably should.
Yeah, it's like one of the main flavors in like Cantonese food. So like a lot of times if you're ever wondering like this doesn't taste like the restaurant, doesn't taste like when you get it at somewhere. It's probably white pepper just like dashed in there.
Okay, that's great. I love that. Okay, so it seems like we've covered the ingredients pretty well. Why don't we run through like the process of making it?
You'll be hearing all about that right after these words from our sponsor.
Today's is brought to you by Milk. Now back to our conversation with Calvin.
I'd love for you, from the perspective of a home cook, like talk about making congee from the moment you decide you want to make it to the moment where like the first bite enters your mouth.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think, like I said earlier about like freezing the rice, if you know you're going to want it the next day or like want it at some point, it doesn't hurt to just have like a cup of frozen rice in the freezer. Like you always just have a cup of frozen rice in the freezer. It takes up like no space, a little deli cup container. Just like wash it, throw it in there, freeze it. Like maybe a pint container just because it'll expand. And you don't want it to burst all over your freezer. So a little bigger. Or even a Ziploc bag, nice and flat. Kind of thing. Like it doesn't take up any space. It's always good to have around. But again, if you don't want to plan for that, you still make it day of.
So before that, I think I heard you mention earlier that you wash the rice. Is that right?
Yeah, we always wash rice at home, restaurant growing up, whatever it is. To clean off all the starch or clean off all the debris, clean off any like impurities. Basically, you want to always rinse it. I feel like Chinese families have always washed the rice because I'm sure like back in the day it was definitely not as clean or not as fully processed as it is now when you buy like a bag from the grocery store. So regardless, it was always washed and rinsed until it was clear.
Cool. Yeah, wait, can you like maybe briefly describe how you wash rice? Also, because I'm remembering that one of the first times I washed rice on a larger scale was helping you at that pop-up at Winter, like a long time ago. And I think I didn't do that good of a job because of the rice. We made like this huge batch of rice and it didn't come out right because it took me, I think I watched the rice too long, kind of, or like I was sitting in the water too long. Yeah, so why don't you just like run me through, like you're at home, you're going to make a pot of congee, like how do you wash your rice?
Yeah, I usually just take like a 5 mesh strainer or anything where it's like fine enough for not the grains to fall through. Throw my measured quantity into that and then just run it under cold water. Because you don't want to use hot water. Hot water can start to cook the rice and like release even more starch and shit. So you don't want that. So you just rinse it under as much cold water as possible until it runs clear. And then I just dump that into my pot, my rice cooker, whatever it is. And then,
interesting. So are you like tossing while you're like are you like shaking the rice around?
Yeah, I'm flipping and tossing. I'm treating like let's say at home I'm using like a tea strainer, like a large, whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called. Like the restaurant we're using a chinois, but at home it's like those flimsy looking little mesh bowls.
The little straight, 5 mesh, totally.
So your rice in there, and I'm like tossing like a saute pan under the cold running water, basically, until whatever's coming out is running clear.
Oh, that makes all the sense in the world to me, but for some reason I'm always like doing it in a bowl, and I'm shaking, I'm messing it around, and then I'm like trying to pour out the water without losing the grains. But now that's seeming like a really stupid way to do it.
Yeah, that way it's like you're 100% going to lose grains. There's no way you're going to catch them all, and you're 100% not going to get all the water out without losing grains. So your ratio is just going to be off because you already measured, and then you're losing water, you're losing rice, or have too much water. So like the strainer is always my move, just because you'll drain off all the water, you're not going to lose any grains, and then your ratio will be right when you're measuring it for cooked rice.
That makes all the sense in the world. I guess I was thinking like there's something going on when you submerge the rice in water that like gets more out or something, but that seems like that's not true. That is really good to know. So like how long does it take you to rinse rice if you're making like a cup or two of rice?
15, 20 seconds.
15, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not crazy.
Wow. I really feel like I've added more stress and wasted a lot of time in my life trying to rinse rice. So that's already incredibly helpful. So you rinse your rice, your jasmine rice, your measured quantity. If you want to make 5 cups of congee, you might start with half a cup of rice, it sounds like. Right?
Exactly.
And then you drain it, you let the water run out. And then at this point, you're either going into a bag or a deli and into the freezer for 6 hours.
Exactly.
Or you're going into already boiling water. Like what happens next if you're going immediately?
Yeah. So if you were having it tomorrow or having it later in the day or for dinner, or if you want to freeze this rice in the morning, go to work, do whatever, and then come back and prepare dinner without having to hover over the stove, then you would freeze it. But if you're not, you go right to the stove. But regardless of what you do, you're going to be at the stove now and bringing your liquid to a boil, like a roaring boil.
Rice goes in and then you bring it to a boil, or liquid's already at a boil?
Liquid at a boil. Yeah, so bring the liquid to a boil and then add in the frozen rice or the freshly cleaned rice, basically, and just whisk over like medium high essentially until all cooked down and broken down. But you don't once you leave it, because it will scorch very easily on the bottom.
I made my the way I made my congee, I basically used 3 cups of water and a palmful of rice, let's say, sushi rice, and I just left it alone. I put it over low and I just let it like reduce, and then I check on it and it was fine. And then an hour later, it was like, oh, the rice isn't like so broken down, but it's reduced. So I added some more water, and then I was recording an episode of this podcast. And so but I didn't have my headphones. So I took the saucepan off the heat and I brought it in my car on a towel. And I drove to my house and then I put it back on the stove for probably another hour while I interviewed the person. And then I came back and it was delicious. But I didn't do much whisking and it took a long time.
Yeah, so definitely freezing it would definitely cut that down by so much.
Right.
But again, I guess there is like so many different ways of preparing it. There's no like, I guess, right or wrong. This is just like my way of doing it.
Another thing I was thinking about when I was cooking it was like, should I cover it? Or is the goal of it to evaporate and reduce as it's cooking?
Evaporate and reduce as it goes. Yeah, I don't cover it just because when you're cooking starches like that, it traps so much heat that a lot of times it'll overboil or like come out or like blow the lid off. So it's like, I don't bother putting a lid on when I'm doing this.
Interesting.
And just so I could like see what's going on and whisk it once in a while easily.
And the whisk is to prevent scorching. It's not to help break down the rice as much. Like the rice will break down either way.
Yeah, if there's like I said, if the heat is on, the liquid's going, it's naturally agitating itself in the liquid, it's gonna break down.
I want to find a picture of my congee because I was just I kept looking at it and being like, what is the goal texture supposed to be? And I found a picture. I wonder if you'll be able to see this.
Yeah, that looks good. It looks a little thicker than like my preference, but you can tell like the grains are all like broken down. It's like creamy.
You still see the lumps of the grains, but they are broken down.
There's no whole grains anywhere.
They're like busted open. Kind of.
Exactly. And that's what you're looking for.
I've got another picture, or I've got a video here I'm going to show you.
Yeah. That looks great.
Yeah, that's looking maybe a little thicker than you like it, though.
Yeah, personal preference, but some people do like it like that.
Cool.
Like to me, that would be, no offense, like nauseating if I eat it a lot. Just because it's a little thick for me.
Totally. Thank you. Thank you for honesty. It really wasn't nauseating to me at all. I sat outside and I ate it in the sunshine, and it honestly kind of blew my mind. I was like, this is one of the most comforting and like simple things maybe I've ever made, which felt really nice. How long, if you don't freeze your rice, how long should someone expect the congee to take from the moment it like starts to go to a boil to the moment that it's eaten?
For a small little batch, like 1 cup, it's probably like 45 to an hour.
45 to
and
an
you're
hour.
probably at where you want it to be.
Cool. And if you freeze the rice, it might only take 20, 25 minutes?
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
So it's a lot easier. And it's like I said, you're not whisking the whole time. Like it's just there. You can work on your eggs, work on your herbs or whatever it is. And then it all comes together fairly quickly.
You could just have like 6 half or 1 cup bags of rice in your freezer, and like that'll get you through like a month or so of congee.
Yeah,
maybe.
Exactly. But also like you could have it already, like how we do at the restaurant, already have like the concentrate made essentially when you cook it to like a 1 to 5 and freeze that.
Right. If I was going to do that at home, how would I go about that?
Yeah. So you would just, instead of doing 1 to 10, same process, whether you freeze your rice first or you wash and cook it, but you would just boil half the amount of liquid. So if I'm doing a 1 to 10 ratio, I'll do 5 cups of liquid, whatever liquid that is. And then I'll do the 1 cup of rice. So it'll look crazy thick, like almost impossible to whisk once it's all ready. Like very, very nauseating. Too thick. And at that point, once you're done, just cool it down fully and then
like
pour
put it on something or just like let it
I mean, you can put it in an ice bath if you have it at home, but most people probably won't be able to do that at home. So probably flat sheet tray kind of deal. Throw it in the fridge, cool it down that way, and then quart it all up. And then you have this we call it his congee concentrate, and then just throw it in the freezer like that.
So would you, if you were at home, would you freeze a quart of it? I'm just thinking about like how you would then use it. if it was frozen into a quart, would you thaw the whole thing and then take a scoop out, or would you like at home, would you freeze it in different portions to use it?
Yeah, so whatever. So you just have to remember that it's a concentrate. So
Right.
it's going to double whatever you have. It's going to be a double.
Right.
And like for me, a portion for me is like a little under a quart. Like 28 ounces is probably like what I'm eating if I were to eat a bowl of congee.
Wait, a portion is a little under a quart for a bowl for you of congee?
For me, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's crazy.
If I were eating it as like a meal and not like a snack.
Wow.
So-
Go off. Fuck yeah. So maybe you would freeze a pint.
Yeah,
You'd
I would
freeze it in pints, and
if
then
it's
you-
just for me, yeah. If I'm not feeding anybody else, if it's like personal,
Right.
I would freeze a pint.
Of the concentrate.
Yeah, thaw that out in the refrigerator overnight, or pull it out on your counter for a little bit, and then heat that up with some water or broth, whatever it is that you want to use.
Right.
And then just reconstitute it essentially, and you're good to go. And then you
Right.
have the right ratio, just so you're not storing full quarts and taking up space that you don't have.
Smart. So you would basically put the pint of concentrate in, and then you basically fill that pint up with whatever liquid you want and put that in.
Exactly.
Because then at that point it would be a 1-to-1. Am I doing that math right? Or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
And then at the end of the day, that will be your 1-to-10 ratio again. So you're good.
And freezing doesn't do anything. Like I know sometimes when you freeze stuff and then you defrost it, weird things happen. But congee
Not
freeze as
this
well.
product.
Cool.
I mean, again, it's one of those things that will probably expand a little bit because you're freezing it.
Right.
And the water will expand, the rest will expand. So you don't want to max it out to the brim of the pint container, whatever container, because it will bust or crack or whatever.
So would you freeze it unseasoned and un-MSG'd, and then when you dilute it to get to your ratio for yourself, that's when you would add the only seasoning that you added in the entire process, salt and MSG?
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause
Cool.
I just want it to be neutral.
Well, maybe it's a good time to talk about MSG, because that's, a big part of your book and like a big part of your cooking. Like having seen the line at Bonnie's when I staged, it was like, in the same way that many people have a little bowl of salt, you also have a bowl of MSG there, and it seems to be going into a lot of things. And
Yeah.
I feel like I have been like tiptoeing into using MSG more in my cooking. And I imagine a lot of people at home maybe don't use it. And I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about like how you think about a pinch and what you think
Yeah.
about its purpose when you add it into like different cooking processes.
I think like MSG at the end of the day is just a flavor enhancer that adds a ton of umami through the seasoning. Again, we add a lot of umami through ingredients. Like we use Parmesan, we use pecorino, we use preserved tofu, we use cured products. Like all those add natural umami. But when you're using it, you have to know how to balance it all out by using salt and sugar. It's like when you're using salt to enhance your desserts, it like makes those flavors and those sweetnesses come out much better. It's like adding sugar to your savory stuff or your sauces. It's like it balances things out. And that's kind of like what MSG does as well. It like adds to balancing and rounding out like flavors. But it's one of the things where you do have to practice using it. And I think this book is like perfect for that because it's in so many different things and then not just in savory foods like people assume.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about like how you're thinking about it when you're using it in terms of the balance that you just talked about? Like I think, for example, like I was just talking to my friend Ben about hot sauce, and he was describing balance as like you want the flavor to be homogeneous, where none of the like the acidity or the salt really like stands out, but they all come into harmony. I wonder how you think about MSG and savoriness's role in that.
That's like a great way that Ben used to like describe it. Like you don't want to taste any one specific taste too much. It's like, again, like just like the balance, like the harmony of all of it. Because we have 5 tastes. It's like sour, salty, bitter, and now umami. And umami is what MSG provides, right? And I think when I describe umami, it's like, it's not the easiest one to describe because a lot of people are unfamiliar with that taste specifically. But it's like the thing that makes you salivate and the thing that makes you like want more and more of something. It's like this, it's already, I feel like umami is already like a balance of sweet and savory that occurs naturally in so many things. And especially in like Cantonese food where it's like low on acid, low on heat kind of thing, and like savory forward and kind of allowing like the main ingredients to shine. And seafood is like a big part of Cantonese cuisine. And seafood and like proteins have so much umami and like that natural sweet saltiness that makes you want more. But when you're like cooking or seasoning things, it's like sometimes like that one thing is missing, and that is like that umami factor, like that MSG provides when you season with it. And like a best way to really compare, I guess, if you're making a very simple like stock or soup or broth, maybe have 2 bowls, season one with just salt, and then season one with salt and MSG, and keep adding little by little, and then tasting it side by side and rinsing your mouth with water in between to kind of really understand what it's doing and why it's good and how much to use basically by practicing that way.
I love that. That's a great tip and exercise. Do you adjust the amount of any other ingredients that you add when MSG is a part of it? Like if you had those 2 bowls of stock and you were adding MSG to one, would that one also end up having less salt in it? Or they're non-competitive like additions to flavor wise?
Yeah, a lot of times you would need less salt because again, MSG does contain some salt as well. That's why some people say it's like a healthier alternative because it allows them to consume less salt by using MSG. But it's one of those things where if you're using it, you definitely don't need as much salt.
Cool. Well, let's go back to congee then with MSG in mind. Like, let's say you're making your personal quart of congee you're going to eat. How much MSG is going in there? Like 2 thumb and pointer pinch?
Yeah, probably I got probably like normal size, the medium size, three little poop.
Sorry, was there 2 of the ploops or was that
one ploop?
One ploop. So just for anyone that doesn't have any video, it's the pointer and middle finger and the thumb, and it's a little ploop.
Yeah, but it's always less MSG than it is salt. Same as always less sugar than it is salt if you're doing like a savory dish.
But you don't think this preparation needs sugar in the same way that a lot of the recipes I imagine in your book use sugar?
Sometimes I do add a little bit. It's like personal preference to like balance it out, depending on what I'm topping it with, I guess. Sometimes I always like adding a little sugar to my savory dishes. I think it really does, like, it helps balance it all out. Like, you don't taste the sweetness, like you don't taste sugar, you don't taste, like, that's not a note that you're tasting. Like, I don't want you to describe it as sweet, but it definitely helps the savory notes and the umami notes as well by balancing it all out.
So give me some examples of like how people can incorporate MSG into their home cooking.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for example, today I made eggs for breakfast. I seasoned with salt, MSG, some pepper, and that was that. You know, I think whatever it is that you're making tomato sauce. Tomatoes have a ton of natural MSG, right? And I think when you're seasoning that, I always add salt, sugar, MSG because tomatoes are so acidic. So you got to like balance that out with a little sweetness, a little umami, a little savoriness. There's so many different places, soups and stocks and broths and things like that. People always think it's like a cheat if you use MSG, but like I'm not like boiling water, adding salt and MSG and saying, here's soup. Like,
Yeah, totally.
like I'm still roasting bones. I'm still simmering bones. I'm still simmering meats and carcasses and whole chickens, whatever it is to make that. I'm just seasoning with MSG the same way I season with salt at the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not, if I'm making like wonton soup, I'll add like shrimp shells to the stock or dried shrimp to it. And I'll also add salt and MSG.
It's just a different source of savoriness in the same way that you might, in like a Caesar dressing, you're adding Parmesan and Worcestershire sauce.
Exactly.
And they're all adding different umami-ness to it.
But then things like salads, when I'm mixing salads at home, I'm always like, I think when I toss the greens together or whatever vegetables I'm mixing together, it's always going to be seasoned with salt and MSG on top of it. And then the dressing has whatever's in there.
So if you're making a green salad for someone, you'd put a little pinch of MSG in there?
Absolutely.
Whee! That's fucking awesome. I love that. What do you think are like common pitfalls, challenges, important philosophies and techniques you want people to like walk away from this when they go to make congee in their own kitchen?
The texture, the consistency, the ratio, obviously that's all preference, but getting that right based on how you like to consume it, not overdoing it with toppings. You want to think about ease of eating as well. You don't want like strands of gailan, like Chinese broccoli or random things in there that are just like hard to eat that don't make sense with it. You want, because it's end of the day, it's a soup. You want to think of it like a soup, being able to eat it with a soup spoon. So proper consistency, not overdoing it with toppings
and like
flavors,
base ingredients too.
Yeah, you don't want like a mishmash of cuisines and flavors of just random ferments and kimchis you have in the fridge. Like that's probably not going to be good if you overdo it. And then the next one is just the timing. I think it's a labor of love. Sometimes it does take time to make. There are shortcuts to making it if you prepare ahead of time. Same thing with beans.
Totally. And it seems like it's pretty forgiving. Like the cooking, like we didn't really even like talk that much about the cooking because it seems like you're just cooking it over medium high heat, making sure it doesn't scorch, and paying attention to the texture and loosening or reducing as you need to.
Very, very straightforward. Don't overthink it. Again, this is like one of the things people eat. It's like peasant food back in the day. It's like you could eat this and boil this over like a campfire.
Right.
Because it's nutritious, it keeps you full, and you don't need a lot to make a large meal.
Totally. This like has inspired me to like use MSG more. I really want to try the freezing. I love the idea of making a concentrate and having like a really easy access to a quick version of congee. This has been so awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course, dude. Thank you for having me, always.
Absolutely. And congratulations on the book. And I'm excited for whenever I'm back in New York to come eat at Bonnie's again and say hello.
Oh, please do. Love to see you.
Thank you so much for listening to Taste. I'm your host, Cody Reiss, and I make this podcast. If you'd like to get involved without being paid for some reason, you please let me know. Our guest today was Calvin Ang. His restaurant, again, is Bonnie's, and you can get his and Phoebe's book, Salt Sugar MSG, now wherever you get your cookbooks. Our art was made by Ben Buttfat Freddy. Our music is by Justin Kohlberg of Moonrun. If you like this podcast, you might also like my Substack, also called To Taste, which is about food and travel. You can follow me on Instagram at Cody Reiss or the podcast at To Taste Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and good night. Go make some congee.